has just started in the business a few years back, and they've kind of trying some new things and getting into some different areas of the inflatable business. And he asked me for my advice on a pay for play, or I like to call them pray for pay. And the reason the reason why is because it is really difficult for you to make the kind of money that you're used to. And there's a couple of things that are involved with this, and I want to talk to you about it and get you in the mindset of this. Not because I'm trying to just dissuade anybody from doing anything. There are plenty of people who work out there that make a ton of money doing pay for plays. But there are a few things that you have to know before you get into these events, before you get in, locked into something that is going to cost you money or cost you time, and time is money, so it's a little bit of everything. So first and foremost, if people there's the psychology involved in getting paid for these events. And if people are used to being paid or used to paying for something, then they will pay. If they're not used to paying for something, it's going to be very difficult for you to try to persuade them to start paying for something that they're really not used to paying for. So for instance, if you think about this, along the ways of Halloween and Easter, those two events in particular have this sense of free. So in Halloween, you trick or treat and you're given candy for free. Now you pay for things like haunted houses and stuff like that, but for the most part, Halloween is kind of a free thing. So if you set up at a Halloween event, and a Halloween event is different from the fall festival, because the fall festival is events that's kind of what I was talking about. It's designed to generate money. But if you set up at a Halloween event and you try to make money, you're gonna have a struggle. The same thing with Easter. Easter, they hunt for eggs and they get it, and there's really difficult for you to have a pay for play at an Easter event where you're going to make money, because people are used to that free side of it. So what you want to do is, first and foremost, is start looking for events where there is an idea or a belief or a thought that people are going to pay. They're used to paying. They've paid in the past. Fairs, carnivals, festivals, things like that, where they've always bought armbands, or they've always bought tickets, or they've always done whatever. And those kind of events, you can slide into the guys that they're doing what they're doing. Most of those, they take tickets, so there's essential ticket sales, and then you turn your tickets in at the end of the night, and that's how much money you've made. So those are good. And again, there's a wide range of those, but most of those have been gobbled up by people who have been in the industry for a while and have established themselves. So if you're trying to get into something new, again, people are going to default to the cheaper idea. So what they're going to do is they're going to assume that it's free, or they're going to assume that it's a cheap price or whatever. Stay away from that kind of stuff. Stay away from new events. Stay away from and again, nothing is absolute. There's literally a possibility for people to make money all the way around every time for everything. But in most cases, if you're going into something that's not established, unless you're going to dump a lot of marketing and stuff like that into it, and you're going to let people know what it is and how much it's going to cost and the whole 9 yards, what you have, it's really difficult to get into stuff like that. I want to share some stories with you guys about some stuff that I've done in the past that kind of cost me some money. And one of them was I thought that I was going to do a pay for play at a flea market, and I thought, this would be a great place to make money, because there's tons and tons of people that are coming in there every weekend. And I talked to the manager, and he was like, "Yep, we'll do it. We'll charge you a booth fee, and you just just kind of get in there and you do your thing and make your money and have at it. So that's what I did, but I kind of overstepped my bounds. I brought in more than I should. I had more employees than I should. I did the whole thing, and it got to a situation where, I was making probably $20 a day for something that I should have been making hundreds a day, and I was locked into at least a weekend, if not a contract for multiple weekends, where people were going to this flea market and they were looking for a deal, and I was looking for my regular price, and the two don't mesh. So what you're left with is a situation where you're trying to make money off of something that you're not going to make money off of. You're making money off of the lower standard, which is the flea market. And again, I go to flea markets to find a bargain, so I don't understand why it doesn't enter into my brain that other people would too. And you need to be like that too. You need to start thinking about your habits and the way you do things. And most people follow those kind of same habits. They'll get into this mindset or this idea that they're doing this for a certain reason or a certain price, and that's what they're going to do. So the next kind of example that I had is that I had an event that was an established event. It was a good event. It had gone for many, many, many years. It had wonderful crowds and the whole 9 yards. But the problem is that over the years, this event had gathered and hired and fired so many different companies that they had gone up and down. They had changed the way that they paid. They prepaid. They pay for play. They half and half. They did a lot of stuff. So what they were doing was they were bringing in a lot of things and they were taking away a lot of things. And the customers were 100% confused about what was going on. So this event was a huge event, had good numbers and the good people in the whole 9 yards, and they were ready to pay, but they weren't ready to pay the big dollar amounts, because this event had ruined that for everyone and had established this situation where they had gotten, and changed the rules so many times that people just were fed up with it. So again, you have to be very, very wary of those kind of things as well. And again, an established event is going to have a good company that's already attached to it. It's going to be very, very difficult. But if you do get into one, make sure that you hold on to those events, because those events are really, really good. Do what you need to do the right thing and take care of the customers, and make sure your equipment is up to par and everything is good, because those kind of events work in your favor, because they will be every single year. They will be, you can rely on them and they can rely on you, and it's kind of that relationship between you and the vendor. And it'll be a different crowd, or it'll be an established crowd that's used to whatever was going on, so they'll know what you want and you'll know what they want, and everything will be on the up and up, and you'll make good money. Let me give you the kind of the history of pay for play and how it worked over the years and what happened to it. Pay for play was on an upward kind of trajectory all the way up until, from 2008, after the crash, it kind of went up and went up and went up, and it got to the point to where we had established venues that were paying you to come to their venue and be the entertainment, and then they found out that they didn't need to do that. What they could do is bring you in and have you pay them, and then you can make money, and then the price started going up because the money was so good, because everything was working in that direction. And then COVID hit and everything was wiped out. And what we were left with was these events kind of defaulted back down to zero, and now they're in a state where they pay to have entertainment brought in, and then they'll either charge tickets or whatever to try to recoup some of their money. But for the most part, I tell you, I've started to see that some of them are starting to move back into pay for plays, which is moving back into that trajectory where the money is. The problem with pay for plays, outside of the money part of it, is that you take on all of the risk. If it rains and your event is kaput, then you're out a lot of money. We did a Bigfoot event. Um, right when COVID hit, we did a Bigfoot event, and literally the day before the event, the venue called us and said we can't do it because of COVID. And I had all of these people that had already prepaid all their tickets and had done everything, and I had to refund all that money. Now, the money that I spent on t-shirts and all this other stuff that we put into the event, none of that mattered because that was going to be recouped from the money that was brought in from the ticket sales. But all the ticket sales were erased immediately by COVID, and so I was basically left with all these t-shirts and all these all the monies and stuff that went out, and none of it came in, and leaving me with a situation where there was no way to recoup it. I even tried a couple years later to redo the event, and what happened with COVID is that people were so scared that they just didn't sign up for the event, so my numbers tanked as well past the events. So we're well beyond COVID now, and I get that, and I'm not trying to delve into the past, but what I am trying to tell you is that you don't know what's going to happen, and that's a risk that you're taking when you're doing these pay for plays, is that you're getting into situations where you may not even think this could happen to me, or this would be the thing that would mess everything up, and then all of a sudden that it does. And it could be anything. It could be a bomb scare, it could be a crime spree, it could be bad weather, it could be a disease, it could be anything and everything. So we're in a situation where you have to take all that into consideration, and all that is risk. There are some remedies to pay for play, and I'm going to get into that right now. First and foremost, nothing is free. Somebody needs to have some skin in the game. Everybody needs to have some skin in the game. So if you have a venue that wants to hire you for a pay for play, my suggestion is you tell them, look, I will do it for X amount of dollars. And if they balk, if they say, no, I can't pay $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever, then say, okay, this is what I'll do. I'll do it for half price, and we'll sell tickets. And for every ticket that we sell, I keep half and you keep half, and you try to make up your money, and I try to make up the rest of my money, so that we split the risk. That, to me, is one of the fairest way to do it. And that way you're guaranteed some money, so at least you're going to kind of, at least hopefully, cover your costs and make a little bit of money. And then they also have this skin in the game, so that it's in their best interest to see that the event goes off, and that you make money, and that everything is done. So they're working and you're working, everybody's working in the same direction. The other thing is and if they don't have the money for that, if they don't have the ability to put forth that kind of money, then sponsors is the other way to go. And sponsors are time consuming, and it's an effort on your part and on their part, and you got to go to these people and you got to beg for money. And in exchange, what you're going to do is you're going to put a sign up or a t-shirt printed with their name on it, or whatever you're going to do. It's got to be worth their while. And the problem that you have with sponsors is that most of the big ones are established and doing what they're doing, so you're left with a lot of little ones. Most small businesses will make you get out of their to get you out of their business. They'll pay you $50. Here's $50, just go. Put my name on a shirt, do whatever you're going to do. So you're left with these small numbers that you have to deal with. And the way that you deal with these small numbers is you got to do a lot of them, which means there's a lot of work put into trying to make a lot of money, so that you'll be able to do this. And that can cost you money, because you'll have people who are trying to, you got to pay an employee or yourself, your own time or whatever is going into this, and is making the money for you to do the things that you're doing with the sponsorships. And then on top of that, there are some negatives that come along with the sponsorships. If this is something where somebody could get hurt or something, your sponsors may be worried about that, and they don't want their name attached to it. Or, they need to be ensured that this isn't some kind of scam and you're just trying to make some money. So it's good that you have the person that's involved in the event with you with this as well. Again, they're going to lend you credibility. You're going to lend them your expertise and your ability to provide the service. So all the answers to all the questions are there, and everybody can be on the, up and up and understand what's going on. So getting those sponsors, again, can definitely give you some seed money, but it's going to take you time and effort and those kind of things. Do you have the time to do all that? You can build any of this. And the bottom line of this is that you need to understand that people, well, let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you this so that you can kind of use this and think about it in your head. When you drive by an event and you see inflatables, what is the first thing that enters into your mind? Is the first thing that entered into your mind that I need to take my kids over there and let them jump for free? Is the first thing I'm going to take my kids over there and I'm going to pay some money? Is the first thing I'm going to drive over there, but they're not going to let me come in because it's a private event? So those are the kind of things that you need to get out to the public so that they understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. Simply setting up inflatables on the side of a road or at an event or a venue or something like that is not a guarantee of money. And a lot of people, especially vendors who want inflatables, assume that if you put a big bounce house and a slide in front of this, 1 million people are going to come in and they're going to have all their kids. It's not how it works. And the money that someone is going to pay, how much is it worth for you to slide down a slide for 5 or 10 minutes? $2, $3? Are you going to stay there for 30 minutes? Is 30 minutes worth $10, $20? Are you going to stay there for 2 hours? You're going to stay there for 2 hours while your kids play on the inflatables. No. So what your expectations are that you're going to set these inflatables up and somebody is going to probably play on them. And this is honestly what happens. Somebody's going to play on these for probably between 5 and 15 minutes. What is 5 to 15 minutes worth to you on an inflatable? $5, $10, whatever. Now, how many kids do you got to have to make that worth your while? 100? 200? How many inflatables do you have to entertain 200 kids? Now you got to add more inflatables, which means you got to make more money, which means you got to add more inflatables, which means you got to make. So what I'm saying is you got to keep all of this stuff in line. You got to keep this stuff in mind so that you know where you're going, what you're doing, and creating this situation where you're able to make money and you're not just throwing money out there. And again, I want to reiterate, money is not the end all by any means. I've done events before in the past. I did an event. This is kind of a story that I've told before, and I'm going to tell it to you right now. When I was first starting out in our state, fireworks were a situation where somebody would come in and they would set up a trailer in a Walmart parking lot and they would sell fireworks. And so for several weekends prior to 4th of July, you had this situation where this was kind of set up. Well, the Walmart wanted to make it something a little bigger, so they invited us in and said, hey, you can do a pay-for-play. And I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it, and I said, you know what is worth money to me? Because I'm not going to make a lot. I knew I wasn't going to make a lot of money. I was going to make $60, and it was probably going to be 3 or 4 units, and I would have to be out there. So I said, this is what I'm going to do, Walmart. I'm going to set up my inflatables. I'm going to showcase my brand new stuff. I'm going to let people play on it. I'm not going to charge a dime. I'm going to put a donation jar out there for your Children's Miracle Network, and I'm going to let people donate to Walmart for this. But to make it worth my while, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to sell birthday parties. And that's what I did. And I sold 5 parties that day. I was able to talk to people and say, listen, if you book today, I'm going to give you $25 off, and you can pick one of these units, or I've got all these other units. So it was something that really, really kind of worked out for me, and I was able to expand my business. But I was, small and had more time than anything, and that was a way for me to create some value within this business outside of give me your dollar, which would have amounted to $60. And I think that's what I gave Walmart, was like $60 for the Children's Miracle Network. And they were ecstatic. They were happy. And I was happy to give it to them, and it was a good thing. And I enjoy the charity, and Walmart does several other events with me. So they do for me, I do for them. But what it was left on the backside, that the money was better. It was better served for me to give to them and to me to get those other birthday parties, which turned into future events and the whole 9 yards. So anyway, whatever you guys think about pay for plays, those are my thoughts on it. Those are my ideas. You can, watch the whole video and tell me what you think. You can also kind of give me some pointers as well. I don't ever think that there is a situation where somebody in this industry cannot learn from someone else in this industry and get to the point to where, we're sharing. Things change every single year, and through every single atmosphere that is around, we have a different opinion on stuff, so that you guys can learn stuff and kind of pass it on. Even somebody that's only been doing it a year or so has tons of knowledge out there that helps the people who are doing the same thing. And it may not all work, and it may not all be good, and you're going to have rough times, and you're going to go through bad things, just like all of us. And sometimes it's good to share those bad things, because it helps other people to get through it, and you can laugh after the fact. It's not, if you make it through, then everything is good. But anyway, tell me what you think. Put me some comments down below what you think about pay for play, and how you can help some other people, and hopefully we'll get it out there. I'm gonna try to do more of these. I'm sorry that I haven't been live with you guys a lot more, but things get hectic. I've been doing a lot of the Bigfoot stuff and the Bigfoot bounce stuff, and that's been really, really fun. And I've been making tons of videos for folks. If you guys need any videos, let me know. I've gotten really good at it, and I do a good service and a good price. I'm not trying to rip anybody off, and I'm not trying to beat you up. I'll even give you a free one if you want your logo or something just kind of animated. Whatever I need to do to help you guys, that's what I want to do. And you guys do the same for others, please. And we'll keep at it. But I'm going to try to do more of these so that you guys can get some good information and spread that good information as well. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.